Okay, so let's take a look at the business rules section under the config module. Now, before we even start digging around in there, there's something to keep in mind. Whenever you are dealing in either the config or the admin module, this is sort of an area that you actually have the potential to do damage to your database. So everyone should not have a complete access or open ability to go work in this area, because it doesn't take much for you to be able to delete something or globally do something that will affect your entire database. You shouldn't even be in these areas unless you've been really sort of taken through advanced system training. And so I'll leave it at that, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And most organizations, for whatever reason, leave security wide open. So if I'm a user, I can log in. A lot of times I'll have supervisor rights, even though I really shouldn't unless I know sort of what I'm doing. All right, so with that, let's take a look at the very first section. Now, the business rules from the config module, see that second tab there called business rules, and you see this column here, the third column over. This is where all the different features inside the business rules can be sort of tweaked or set. Let's start with the very first. The very first one is this general option. Now, let's cover what is basically on this tab. It starts with when you're saving a record with invalid credit card information, what do you want to do? You display a warning, do not allow the record to be saved, or save record anyway. I would have you never set this first one, do not allow record to be saved, because a lot of times you don't know the full credit card number and it'll come back saying it's invalid to begin with. So I would either just say save anyway or display a warning. Either way, it doesn't matter. Nowadays with their new encryption on credit card informations, you can't really look at them anyway. They're set to only show you the last 4 digits. You know, this has been a problem for organizations that have donors who might give them a credit card and say, charge me $20 a month until I say otherwise, and it's sort of a recurring gift. Now, if you have anybody like that, because of Blackbaud's new rules for how they're storing credit card information, you have to actually save the credit card number somewhere else. And unfortunately, this has actually done more damage to credit card security than what they are hoping to do, because now people are saving it as a note, or they're putting it as an attribute where pretty much everybody can get access to it. Whereas before, you can actually just limit what people can see through the security settings. So just keep in mind, if you're trying to keep a credit card info or number from a donor that's giving you a recurring gift, you actually have to store it somewhere other than Blackbaud typically tells you to store a credit card number, which is on the Bio 2 tab. So you'll need to store it as a note or some other field, okay? Now down here, exclude deceased individuals from mailings, reports, exports. All that is a default setting that in the event you go run a mailing, you'll see that it's automatically excluding deceased. Now you can change that during a mailing, a query, or a report, whatever you're going to be doing. But this is just a default setting. This one down here is sort of important. When copying the preferred address to an alternate address, use this default type of address. Now what you have in your table of addresses, this is something that you should make it say either last known address or former address. And let me show you in essence what this is doing. So if I have a record, now I'm just going to open up my sample database and go open up anybody's record. So I'll open, say, this person, Dr. David Corbin. All right, now in the event Dr. Corbin moves, so here I have an address for him saying Pelican Point, Dover, Delaware. What I'll do, how interesting, I get the Delaware one when I'm doing a Delaware users group. Just completely random, it was an accident, but it's cool. So if this person moves, instead of me having to go through the hassle of adding a whole separate address, there's this feature where I can come up here to the constituent drop-down window, go down where it says copy preferred address to alternate. You see that? Now when I do that, what it's done is it's taking the current address on the Bio 1 tab and moved it as a secondary address, and we'll go there in a minute to see it, but it's also put in that setting from the business rules to say last known address or previous address, whatever you have set it. And then after I've done that, I would come here and actually make the changes right here. So instead of 1230 Pelican Point, maybe I'll say it's 3215 Seagull Avenue. And I'm not going to change anymore just to show you. But when I save it, here's what in essence happens by doing that setting. Now remember how he had the Pelican Point one here. See this right here? See how it shows us former address. And that's all it's doing. So in the event that you do make an address change, it's identifying what do you want to call that former address. Okay? So any questions with that?